Hi everyone, and welcome to my second video talking about my perfect bass patch on the Line 6 Helix. This video is about how I get a Boss OC-2 sound and how I incorporate it into my patch. So if you want to know about how I put together the bulk of this main bass tone, check out my first Helix video. The link is in the description. This patch is available for download on the Line 6 custom tone site, so you can check it out more in depth for yourself if you'd like. So, first a little background. Before I acquired a Helix, I had a pedal board. If you are on my Instagram, you can see I have a history of going through a lot of different pedals and a lot of different board configurations. But a staple on my board was always a Boss OC-2 type sub-octave synth pedal, which I would use for pop or hip-hop bass lines in one of my party bands, or for some extra grindy low-end thickness in my prog metal band, OC-2. My favorite of these pedals that I went through was the 3-leaf audio Octave, spelled OCTABVRE. It's a bit of an odd spelling, but I think it was made for bassist Tim LaFave, and his last name is spelled similarly. And I believe that pedal is just like a clone of an OC-2 and a Mutron combined into one pedal. And the thing I loved about it is that it had one foot switch to turn the pedal on, which would give you a blend of the sub-octave in your dry tone, and it had another foot switch to solo the sub. And I loved that because sometimes I like the blended sound, and sometimes I want just the synth sound of the sub-octave. So my goal with this part of the patch is to have both that sound and the functionality of switching between the blend and the soloed sub. So in order to do this, you need to have a lane with a free split chain. If you already have 2 split chains in your patch and you're looking to incorporate this, you are kind of SOL. So basically we are going to start with a split Y. So we're sending the same signal down both paths, nothing crazy there. In the bottom path, we'll have a pitch block with the attack synth under the legacy menu. There is a bass octaver model here, which I believe models an EBS bass octaver pedal, but I don't really like the tone of that one. It doesn't have the synth character that I like. So on the attack model, the attack synth model, we'll turn on here, frequency set to 0, attack set to 0, the wave set it to square, and pitch at 50, which is 1 octave down. 0 is 2 octaves down, and I think 100 is just the same octave as what you're playing. So when you have that, it sounds like this, and I'm actually going to mute the dry lane here. So that sounds like this. So this gets us pretty close, but there's more to do. There's unfortunately no sine wave option on the attack synth model. So we have to use the square, which is harsher sounding. We will tame this a bit with a parametric EQ block, cutting some of the less pleasant harmonic areas and low passing just a bit. Also, in particular, I am cutting down here pretty low at a little over 100 hertz, particularly because I found that the notes there tend to be louder. So in this case, this is less about attenuating some of the extra harmonics, and this is more about just getting the notes to be a little more even in that area. So with that on, it sounds like this. So that gets us to the sound I like, but now I have to get the functionality of the 2 switches, like the 3-leaf octave. This is a toughie because I need the switching to be totally unaffected by changing snapshots, which this patch uses for distortion control. So I can't just set one switch to control the bypass state and one to control the blend, because even though you can set whole blocks to be snapshot bypass safe, you cannot set individual parameters to be snapshot bypass safe in the Helix. So the solution is to control the blend using volume blocks. So to start here, I'm going to bring the volume of the dry path back up in the mixer. So with this first volume block, it is attached to the same switch that is used to turn the synth module and the EQ on and off. So I get that even. So when I hit that, it turns on all three blocks all at once. And it's set to plus 4.5 dB so that the dry signal gets boosted a bit to mix well with the subsynth when it's in blend mode. The second volume block up top functionally mutes the top path, dropping it by 120 dB. That will solo the subsynth when it's activated. And then when it's not, it's dry. Or rather blended between the dry and the subsynth. Easy peasy. But there's still a problem. Let's say I have the bypass switch for the subsynth off, just playing with my regular tone, but the top path mute switch is on. This is a problem because then my volume will be halved, because now my regular tone coming through the top path is being functionally muted, and my tone is now only coming through the bottom path. The solution is this last volume block on the bottom path, a 6 dB boost, activated by the same switch that mutes the top path. Now the level will remain consistent whether the solo sub switch is on or not when the synth is bypassed. And when the synth is on, the bottom path is now soloed. So that kind of goes like this. If I have the subsynth off, the synth module is obviously totally bypassed, but I still have this on. So when the subsynth is off, switching this switch on and off keeps the sound totally the same. It basically doesn't affect it. Except that I have these two volume blocks set for opposite polarity right now. There, now it should work. There it is. Now they're the same volume whenever I kick that on. But then when I have the synth on, but the solo switch off, it's blended, and then when I hit the solo switch on, then we get just the solo sub. Now, all 5 of these blocks must be set to, or they must have snapshot bypass off. So normally there will be a check mark next to this. It needs to not have that check mark. This way I can switch between snapshots for distortion without affecting the bypass or blend status of my sub-octave sound. So that can sound like this. If I switch on a distorted sound and then have my my sub blend on, I can have this. Here it's got that subsynth in it, but then I can switch to clean and my synth is still there, which is what's really important. That's the reason why I had to do this whole thing this way, so that I can switch my my snapshots and it absolutely will not affect the status of my subsynth. This is functionally the same as having that 3-leaf octave like on a pedal board. And so that's how it sounds. And that's it. And that is how I get the sound of a Boss OC-2-ish with the switching functionality of a 3-leaf octave. I know it's convoluted, but it's the only way I've found so far that works exactly the way that I want it to. Maybe when Line 6 releases the next firmware for the Helix, there will be an OC-2 model included, and this video will become obsolete. Either way, I hope you found it helpful and informative. Like I said earlier, if you want to know how the rest of the patch works, you can check out my previous Helix video. You can download the whole patch on the Line 6 custom tone site for free if you'd like. And if you have any other questions, leave them for me in the comments and I'll try to answer. Also, let me know if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, because I love doing this kind of thing. Be sure to like and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram, where I post bass and audio related content on a more regular basis. Stay safe, everyone, and I will see you in the next one.